Thanks for staying with us right here on Sunrise as we continue this morning. Business tips for my daughter as a handbook filled with all sorts of tips and advice on being financially savvy, written by Ndzavi Derrick, now CEO of New Discovery and a business advisor. From saving tips, partnerships, meeting, etiquette, and so much more, this book is surely to be handy when it comes to any aspect of your life. Author Ndzavi Derrick joins us this morning for a conversation. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us.
Morning, Penny, and morning to the viewers.
Great stuff. So it's a new year, and I'm sure people have all sorts of ideas of things that they want to do when it comes to business or how they want to take their business to the next level. But I know that in the book, one of your chapters is forget about New Year resolutions.
True, because what happened is we have made New Year resolutions as a culture. And also, it's something that it's like a correction to the previous year. So for you to move forward, look at it to say, do I have to make a new Year resolution, or do I have to review what I've done last year? Did I achieve anything in the previous year? Why New Year resolution if you still have things that are still hanging? So it's not something like a habit that we have to, but you have to look and say, what did I do last year? Because remember, as we live in now, not in years. So living in now, it means that you have to look at where are you now? Did you achieve what you were supposed to achieve last year? If not, just continue with what you had, and then look at what you have to do every day for you to move forward.
So you mustn't be feeling the pressure of like, I gotta have a new list because it's the new year.
I have to put the new list, you know, and top up new things for the new year, because now that would mean that it's just a ritual that you just list things, but come February, none of them is achieved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about the book title itself, Business Tips for My Daughter. Why that title specifically?
Well, it was something that I had to think about, to say, look, we normally focus on getting pets for kids, for daughters actually, to say whatever campaign that we have, it's about how do we get sanitary towels and all that. And I had to think and say, why can't I come up with a book that would be more speaking to the girl child? But mainly it was motivated by my daughter, because I take her to school every morning. And even today I asked her to say, hey, can you come with me? She said, no, Daddy, I'm scared of the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was based on that, because every morning I drive her with the niece, and they would ask me business questions. Then I realized that these questions... What
kind of questions do they ask
you?
Look,
normally in the morning I would listen to business news, right? Before I leave, I would just turn on the TV. And now, before it was kind of irritating, you want to listen to the music and all that. But now as we go, then they got used to it. Now, as they listen now, here are the questions that come. They talk about inflation. Now I have to explain what inflation is, and they talk about recession. I have to go deeper into those topics. But in going deeper to them, it allowed me to reflect and say, hang on, do I really know what inflation is? If I were to interpret it to somebody else. So giving them the accurate answers helped me to realize that maybe if there's a book out there that would give, yes, there are many books, and I would really appreciate that, but some that would be more like point to point and say how to deal with this particular issue, how to deal with this when it comes to business.
Okay. And you know, start them while they're young.
Exactly, because once you bring that, I was not aware that my daughter is getting used to that or understanding what I'm doing until the book launch, when she had to speak, which again, I asked her, can you speak at the book launch? She said, nah, Daddy, I don't think I'm ready. But in the morning, she said, no, Daddy, can I speak?
Okay.
And the things that she said at the book launch are the things that we've been talking in the car, you know, and I realized, okay, then it was getting in. To me, I was worried. I was like, am I reaching out to my daughter?
How old is this person?
She's now 14.
She's now 14.
Yeah, she's now 14.
So these conversations have been going on for how long?
I think since she was 8.
Okay.
Yeah, since she was 8, she started to, and she had to come up with her own brand or her own label, which I won't say, but it's a clothing label. So
she's a young business.
She is.
She's a young entrepreneur.
She is, because one thing that she mentioned, which encouraged me to now want to speak more about, it's when they did the entrepreneur day at school. So I went there, set up the tables, and I started to say, you guys, you can't put this here, you can't. And now she reminded me at the book launch. She said, I remember, Daddy, when we did a book launch, and when we did a market day at school, and you came and then you just set up and you were just sweating, and I could see your dedication, that you love what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now obviously, so this book is aimed at at parents for their children, so to say?
I would say that it's aimed at the parents for their children, but also to the parents who have not yet grown up to understand how to do business.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because there are those that from the startup point, they still want to start a business, they still want to go into business. So, but now what I found out is that most of the kids, the parents buy for the kids. When they buy, they say, I'm buying for my daughter.
Yeah.
And I get feedbacks from the daughter themselves to say, thank you very much for the book that mommy bought me, and I really appreciate it because I now understand, although I'm not in business yet, but I understand that if I were to go to business, how to deal with partnerships in business, how to deal with all these things, and how not to worry if things are not going well, because one day they will, you know. So you don't have to stress. You have to try again if you failed. Yeah.
Okay. So, but now one of the things in one of the chapters says dangers of first-hand opinion in business. I mean, there's always an emphasis of like first impressions is the way to go. It sounds like you're disagreeing with that.
Not exactly, but I have to look at it to say, here I am, I want to start a beauty or a hair salon, right? And without necessarily looking at the second opinion of saying, will this work? Is the market, am I in the right spot? And all that. Most people, they run with that and they want to just do it.
This is what I want to do and I'm going to do it and it's my idea and it's going.
Without not having checked to say, am I competing better and my competitor and all that and the market, am I ready? Are these the right people that I have to go to? Okay. So instead of doing that, like if you go to a doctor and a doctor says, listen, you've got this kind of a disease, before we can even accept it, we look for second opinion.
Okay, so that's the kind of...
Yeah,
okay.
But mostly when something is good, we don't look for second opinion. Okay. So it's very important that even if something, it sounds good, it sounds perfect, it sounds, you know, relevant to you, you have to check with somebody to say, is this the right thing that I have to do?
Okay, so you're a business advisor and you run your own business. I mean, I'm sure when you know the challenges that our country's faced with young people who are unemployed. And I think what I like is that this book is talking to young people already at the age of 14. You mentioned that your daughter is into, she's an upcoming budding entrepreneur. Yeah. But the reality is that there are those, you know, high school graduates or the varsity college or university graduates who are finding themselves with lots and lots of ideas. But the big question is, where do I start? What can I do? What do you say to
well,
those young people?
For me, what I'm looking at is to say, if we can, but it might not, it's not too late actually, but if we can, to make sure that for every subject that we teach, let's bring in the element of business into it. Because we need to understand that these kids, as they study, they want to do something else. So let's give them two options. We are training you to be an employee and also to be an employer. So that by the time they finish, they should not be frustration. There should be that understanding that, you know what, I can start my own business. And some of them, you'd find that in South Africa, it's not like it's a culture of gap year issue, but it's a culture of no money. There is no fund for me to go to college. There is no fund for me to go to school. So, but what can I do with what I've learned from, maybe let me say, from the high school level? Can I'm employed into starting a business or doing something in terms of than to wait and say, I'm waiting for maybe to go to university and all that. But again, if you start that small business, you need to understand that education is not going to university only. You can still empower yourself, you can still do research, you can still study, and you have to find other ways to understand more about what you're doing.
Okay. All right. So for more information, obviously on the book, what can people do? Is the website?
We now listed with African Flavor Books, which is in Bramfontein and Vereeniging, but most you can get it from the website.
What's the website?
The website is www.newdiscoveryBS.co.za. And also follow me on Twitter at Ndzavi D. That's where we offer business tips every day.
Okay. All right. Of course, it's New Discovery
BS. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So that's the website. Business tips to my daughter.
To my daughter.
If you were to give just one tip.
The tip that I can give is that whatever idea that you have, implement it. Don't postpone it. Because the idea that you postponed will haunt you. Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it. Thanks very much for chatting to us. There's something to get, you know, your daughters. I'm sure even sons can enjoy reading this one.
No, actually, the sons will, because the series that comes is to my son and then all that.